Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another one of my favorites of the year video. So this is one that I'd had on my list and then I took off my list and then I wasn't sure whether I was gonna do it, but then I had some people ask me for it because another video I'm gonna be filming after this one is a hot topic slash end of the year Q&A, and someone asked me what my favorite new to me authors were, and I was like, oh well, I did have that as a video idea, so since people are interested, let me go ahead and do it. The main reason why I wasn't gonna film it is that most of these authors have books in my favorites, so I think it is, you know, kind of obvious which ones are my favorites. But then there was a few that weren't the authors are favorites, but maybe their books didn't quite make it into my 6-star reads. That doesn't mean that I didn't love the authors a lot. So then I was just like, well, whatever. This is an easier video for me to do because I'm just gonna put the books, I'll just insert them because I don't want to tear apart my shelves. I'm about ready to go home for the holidays, and so we're just gonna insert the pictures. And also when I use my ring light at night, the books get all shiny anyway, so whatever. So we're not going to do these in any particular order. I'm just going to go through, I think I have 12 on this list, and I'll just tell you maybe a couple of my favorite books by each author and all of that. So we'll just dive in. We'll try not to make this one an hour long like I sometimes do. Who knows? All right, so obviously an author that I can just easily get out of the way. That's not the way I mean it, but I can't believe that I only started this author this year. I'm going to say that about a lot of these authors because some of them I didn't even discover until midway through the year, and I've just devoured their books and just absolutely love them. And I think no one will be shocked, no one will be surprised when we start this off by saying Sophie Lark. Sophie Lark's books came along to me via my friend Jessin, who also has a channel, you probably know, Jessin Reads Romance, and she has a podcast with her aunt that is called Smart Women Read Romance, and they do monthly buddy reads. See, I'm getting to the point here. And they do a monthly review for their patrons on a book that we have voted for, and I think the topic was new adult or college age romance, and one of the books that came up was The Freshman, which actually had just been renamed The Heir because that series was about to come out and they had to kind of change the title to make it a little more clear that the series wasn't actually like college, even though it kind of is a thing. And so we wanted to read that one, and then that book didn't end up getting picked for what we were going to review, but Jess and I were both really interested in it. And because of that, how the book had two different titles, I was like, who is this author? I had heard of her before. Some people had recommended her to me, but it hadn't clicked into place, right? You know, I get a lot of recommendations all the time. That's my life. But I saw someone mention that The Heir was for a spin-off series from her other books. And I was like, oh, well, what's the first one? And honestly, the difference between me starting with Ivan and starting with Brutal Prince, because I was willing to start with either series, was the fact that Brutal Prince, the first 4 books, their audiobooks were already out, which was brilliant on the part of Mr. Lark, who does all of the business side for Sophie. Because the audiobooks were fucking brilliant. And so I quickly read through the first 4 books in the series, and then I finished it, and then I was right on to The Heir and The Rebel, and then boop, I had to stop because The Bully, I mean, you can see it, whoop, right there, wasn't out yet. So then it says at the end of The Rebel that you may want to read the books in the Underworld series before you read The Bully. And this worked out perfectly because, like I said, The Bully wasn't out yet, and I probably wouldn't have stopped to go back to the Underworld if not. And I'm so glad that I did, because this is the way that I recommend everybody read her books that I recommend them to ever, is to then go back and I read Ivan, Snow, Roman, and Dom, because The Bully wasn't out yet. And then I was lucky enough to get an arc for The Bully, because by this time Sophie had noticed that I started talking about her books, and one thing that the Larks are right on top of, just right on top of, is when there are creators or booktubers who are talking about their books, they are very grateful. I mean, I know all authors are, but they really showed their appreciation in this way that, like, I don't speak up for authors just because, you know, like, I wouldn't do that. I was already in love with her books by the time she noticed that I was talking about them, and I love that. And yeah, it's been a love affair ever since. And I mean, y'all have known, I speak with Sophie pretty much weekly. Today is the day that The Savage was announced. I can happily say that The Savage, which I don't know yet if they're going to be calling it Kingmakers #5 or if she's going to call it something else. Like, I don't know that part yet, but it is going to be about a couple that we meet in The Spy that is going to get a romance, and it's actually coming out like right around my birthday, so I'm very excited. So also around this time, I was going to be doing I did a Mafia romance readathon in May of this year, and at that same time I was reached out to by Maggie Cole's PA, like one of her personal assistants, one of her like marketing people, and offered the first 2 books in her Mafia War series. And I actually had said, I was like, I think that maybe I'll read them first, just because she was going to send me the books, and I was like, let me just check it out myself first, because I'm pretty, you know, I can be pretty picky about books, and I don't want you to send them to me if I don't love them. You know, I want to be very genuine about what I talk about, as I've said. And these were available on KU. And also something brilliant that Maggie does is that the audiobooks were available concurrently with the books. And that is like, that's really tough to do for a self-pub author, to have the capital to pay for your audiobooks up front, because they're very expensive. And it's part of the reason why Sophie Lark, like, they've had to wait a few years to get up enough capital that now they can, you know, have audiobooks ready to go, which they still only have the Brutal Birthright ones out currently. So anyway, this is turning into way more of a story time. I promise we won't do this with all of these, but you know, that's what you're here for. And so Ruthless Stranger is the first one in the Mafia Wars, and I absolutely loved it. And so I was midway through Ruthless Stranger, and I was like, you can send me those books, please. I would love to have them. So the first 2 up there actually are my signed copies. And eventually I very quickly caught up to her series, and I haven't read a lot of her backlist yet. So that is something that I want to do it in 2022. I've only read 1 of the books from another series, and I think part of it is that I really love the Mafia story she's telling, and her other books don't completely revolve around like organized crime. They have like different things, but I will get to them. Oh no, that's not true. I've read the first book in 2 of her other series. Yeah, I have. So I love Maggie Cole. She's such a sweet person. She's also been on my channel for an interview, which is great. All right, next I discovered Elisa Braden through my friend Jessin as well. This one I won't tell the whole story, but basically it's the same thing. She read some of Elisa Braden, which viewers had recommended Elisa Braden to her. She is an independent, she's an indie historical romance author, which I'm always looking for great indie historical romance authors. And yeah, you know, she was falling in love, and she was just blowing through all of these books. And these ones also all have audiobooks, and I was able to get them from my library, and they were also on AnyPlay. I like to use my library if they're available at my library, because AnyPlay can be a little finicky, but all of Elisa Braden's books are on AnyPlay, which is awesome. And they were just amazing. I loved her Midnight in Scotland books, and then the Rescue from Ruin books, and I'm so excited for the next Midnight in Scotland book will be out soon, and I cannot wait. She is someone I definitely want to get onto my channel. So you guys, if you read Elisa Braden, keep poking at her. I've tried. Previously when I reached out, she was busy, like with writing and with family stuff and with, you know, making her deadlines. And I completely understand that. And also some independent authors, you know, they're just not super comfortable like being on camera or being, you know, in front of people. And that's okay. As long as she keeps writing me her books, it's okay if she doesn't want to talk to me. I am an intense person. So love it. Donna Fletcher. This is another author that I've been collecting all of her books, not another author, the first author on this list, where I had been collecting her books for a while because they have covers like this, which are absolutely amazing. Just so much. And this was an author that I can't remember when I read this or like why, but I got the audiobook for this one, I think, when I had Scribd at the time. And I had bought this one for the cover. I had seen this cover on someone's post on Instagram, and I was like, I must have it. And then I discovered that she writes mostly Scottish romances, and so I grabbed just all of them. And I read, actually I haven't read the fourth one in the in this King series or whatever, but I did then read the entire When the Rogue Returns, I think is I can't remember. The Rogue Highlander, I don't know. But I also read there's another series where I read all 4 of them. So I've read 7 of her books, and I want to keep reading more. But they're a bit repetitive, but they're so sweet. And the reason why she's on this as a favorite author I discovered was that, like, her books are so comforting to me. Like, it's one of those that it's probably not the best to blow through them all at once, because again, there are parts of it that are very repetitive, but there's also, it's just so cozy, and they're still pretty, like, they're decently steam. It's not like overly descriptive steam, but they're usually some great scenes, and the sexual tension between people is really, really great. So Donna Fletcher is one that's definitely a more like comforting reader to me, or an author to me, and so I'm glad that I have more of her books that I can dive into, you know, when I need that cozy vibe. They definitely are great books to read in the winter too. These are definitely like set in the cold of Scotland usually. Then I have to mention Minerva Spencer, because this one is so funny to me. I mean, it's not surprising, but it's also funny to me how this one is. So this is turning into story time about all these authors. So there we go. Minerva Spencer, I actually owned Dangerous and Barbarous. I owned them already because their covers are gorgeous, as you can tell, but they just sat on my shelves. I was a bit nervous by the blurb on the back of Dangerous because it mentioned a harem, and it mentioned the Middle East and a heroine who had been in a harem, and I was like, ooh, is this going to be uncomfortable? Is this gonna, like, what's this going to be? But they were beautiful, so I've had them on my shelves for a long time. Then when this book came out, I bought Notorious, which has the pink cover with the shadow. And this is actually, I've shared this design for this one. I really love the covers in this series. I'm not a huge fan generally of the animated covers for the historical romances. Like, I'm not generally a huge fan of them. But this one, I just loved how it looked. And so once I read it, it was so unique. And it turns out that book is, and I realized that the authors' names were the same. And then I was like, oh my God, this is the author of those really pretty covers that I had. And I realized that Notorious, the hero, is the son of this woman. And he's actually, half, but he's half Middle Eastern. I don't remember the country or like what he is, but he's the son of the sheik who had kept her prisoner. So this unfortunately was her child from her owner, basically, but she loved him so much. So anyway, I read this romance, and it was very unique. He had a heroine who was very progressive, but not in an overwhelming way for some reason. Like, it was really working for me, because the way that Minerva Spencer was going about the like suffrage, or it wasn't even fully like a suffrage story. It was the heroine just really wanted women to have more control, like over their property and over these different things. And our hero, it was just a very interesting thing, because this is also like a brother's best friend. Anyway, I'm not diving completely into that. So point being, I love this book. And then I got an arc for Outrageous, and I read it, and I got an arc for Infamous when those ones came out, and I loved those books. And so I finally, I'd found the audiobook for Dangerous, and I had a drive home to Pillager, Minnesota, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And I was hooked. I was hooked. I also had after I read, I forgot this too, but Minerva Spencer is actually a pen name for S.M. LaViolette. It's funny because S.M. LaViolette, she writes historical erotica and erotic historical romance. And that's her real name. And Minerva Spencer is the pen name. So it's kind of funny. But she also has books on KU, which I've loved as well. So I just pretty much love everything Minerva Spencer is doing. She has another series coming soon that is going to be like a spin-off from the Rebels of the Ton, and it will have those same kind of covers. And I'm excited for them. I really love everything she's doing. I still have quite a few of her KU books to read, and I can't wait. I'm very excited. Elizabeth Hoyt. This is another author. I cannot believe I started this year. 2 of her books are in my 6-star reads. I didn't start this series until May. I started the Maiden Lane series, and I read all the way through them. And then I've read 3 of the 4 books in the Lost Soldier series, and I've read the Raven Prince, but that's it. So I do still have a couple of her books that I can read. I'm kind of saving them because I just adore her. I love the Maiden Lane series. It is sexy. The stories are unique. It is gritty. It is violent, and it has vigilantes, and it has lords and ladies and made men and pirates and vandals. Like, it has so much going on. And honestly, of the 12 books in that series, there was only like 2 that I gave less than 4 stars to. I really, really love her writing. And I hope she keeps writing for a long, long time. Oh, now I have another indie author to share, and that is Navessa Allen. So this is one of the few authors on here. There are a couple, and I'll point them out, that this author doesn't have that many books yet. She's a very busy lady. She actually does watch my channel. So if you're watching, hi Navessa, you are one of my favorite new to me authors this year. And I actually discovered Navessa through NetGalley. There was ARCs available for a book called Kings of Kearney, which was a motorcycle romance. And not only was this cover absolutely stunning, I was very intrigued by the premise that there is a motorcycle club that is like disabled veterans, or not completely, they don't all have to be disabled, but veterans. And our heroine, she is a veteran. She was wounded and dishonorably discharged, and our hero as well. And they are trying to solve a mystery that's happening there are drugs being like trafficked through a nursing home or assisted care living, which is where our heroine's grandma is staying because she has a faulty memory and some issues there. And so yeah, these 2 work together. So I loved this book. And then when I looked into this author, she had a book called Scandal, which is a MMF historical romance, which is actually a married couple the MF, but our heroine marries the hero because she knows that he's gay, turns out that he's bisexual, but she knows that he's gay and she needs to escape an arranged marriage that would be very violent to her. So she marries her husband, and she has a friendship with him and his lover, who they had been together for a long time, and they are friends, but she stays away from them. And then 2 years into her marriage, she realizes that she's not only in love with her husband, but she's kind of in love with his lover too. And they might love her as well. There's also spying that's happening in this. And yeah, it is brilliant. And then there's also, this author also has kind of a like new adult werewolf series. And she's also working on like a space pirate thing as well. So Navessa is super creative. She actually has a Patreon where she does this like, she releases chapter by chapter of her works, and then when they're all finished, she will launch it as a book. So there is supposed to be another book in the Scandal series coming, and I want it very badly because I freaking love these. So I just wanted to share her because I love pretty much everything she's written. There's one other of her books that I'm like saving it, that is like a snowed in second chance romance, which I definitely want to read. So there you go. Then we have Adelaide Forrest, who actually just read her newest book. That book comes out at the end of the month. But I discovered her through the Belandi Crime Syndicate, which some people recommended to me because I love mafia. And these books all of her books that I've read so far. So she has the Bellandi Crime Syndicate, and then she also has this series that has the chess pieces on the front. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll put up a picture. That is a series about the same couple. Most all of hers are age gaps, not all of them, but most of them are. They all have extremely possessive men. There is situations of like forced pregnancy in some of these. There is kidnapping. There is some dubious consent. But mostly the men are just super possessive and just want to love their women, even if their women don't think that they want to love them back. Lots of trigger warnings for this series as well. And actually this series with the age gap series about the same couple, I have not finished that one yet because the hero made me very angry in a few of the things he did, and I'm not ready to forgive him yet. I will be eventually, but currently not quite yet. But I just really love her writing, and specifically, like I said, I just read Scarred Regrets, and it just, man, did it touch me. It touched me so much. It was such a powerful story. Both these characters had so much trauma, and I just think she does that so well. Like, ooh, it's gruesome a lot of times, but the payoff is so good. So then I want to mention Naomi Lucas, who has not written many books yet, but the ones that I discovered were actually her snake aliens, so the Naga Brides. And the first 3 books are out, and I guess that it's actually like the first story arc. And I guess she actually does like book covers, because I've seen her credited in another author's like acknowledgments before that she does book covers, so that's really interesting. But I love the Naga Brides. There is a Viper, King Cobra, and Blue Coral. I've read all 3 of them. They are snake aliens who these humans have like come back to Earth after being away for a very long time. They have an enemy that they're fighting, and they need to find a way to defeat this enemy and have a safe place to settle. And I don't want to like give it away, but when they return to Earth, there are, like, it is clear that there are remnants of the Earth left behind. And there are now these creatures called the Naga. And they are human snake hybrid kind of beings. And I love them. I love them. They are more possessive and dominant than I feel like a lot of alien creature romances are. I feel like the uglier or weirder an alien is, usually the more like gentle and loving and, sweet that they are. And the Nagas are like, no, you're our mates. You're going to be with us. We're going to give you babies kind of thing. And I love it. I don't care. The story is fascinating to me. I've really opened my mind this year to letting myself try some weirder romances, and I haven't loved them all. But Naomi Lucas, the way she tells a story really works for me. And Blue Coral actually brought me to tears a couple different times. Like, absolutely did. Then I would be remiss if I didn't mention Onley James, who is a more recent discovery for me, again, through a friend who tried one of their books and was obsessed. And both Jessin and Crystal and Tiffany were like all jumped on it right away. And I just love what she's putting out. And the books I've read so far is I've read the first 3 books in the Necessary Evil series, which is a series of, these are all gay romances or bisexual, but mostly gay. And our heroes are all psychopaths who've been raised by a father who searched out psychopathic boys that he could make like psychopaths for good. So they are serial killers who kill serial killers or other horrible people, and I love that, and I love it. And then I've also read the first book in I can't remember which one it is, but it's Elite Protective Services maybe. And these ones are all going to be bodyguard romances, and I haven't read them. And then there's another series too. So I still have quite a bit to read of Onley James, and I'm excited about it. But I just thought I would share that so far, like, they're our favorite author for me, even though I haven't read all their stuff yet. So there's that. Then I want to mention Zoe Draven, which again, this was me being open, and again, Jessin telling me to try her out. And so I did, and I read all of the Horde King books, and I also read all of the, I can't remember the name of it, but they are also aliens, but they have like a magical semen. And so when they like come in you, you literally orgasm until they take it out. It's amazing. But okay, so the Horde King series, it starts with Captive of the Horde King, and this had been recommended to me both by Tara from Read My Lips podcast, as well as then Jessin read. She read all the books on her vacation and loved them. And I love them. There are audiobooks for these ones. And I adored this series. This is, you know, it's a planet, and it's a little bit of like, in the first one specifically, you get some like Daenerys and Draco vibes. Draco. Is it Draco? I don't think it's Draco. Draco? I don't know. Whatever. You know what I mean. Draco. Why am I thinking Draco? I don't know. But Game of Thrones vibes. Like the barbarian. They're like barbarian aliens, kind of. But they're not the sweet blue ones. They are. But they do have magical peens and a tail. So there you go. And then, yeah, I really loved because the one about the aliens who have magical semen, they're actually like the last of their kind, and they are forced to like work in a brothel there, and it's absolutely horrible. And this starts with our heroine wants to lose her virginity, and so she goes to this brothel with these magical aliens to lose her virginity, and she ends up falling in love and then trying to help him escape. And so then it's about not just the one, but there's 4 books, and they are about these men being able to be freed from being forced sex slaves. So I really love her writing. There's one other series by her too, which I haven't read yet, and I really want to, because I don't know, she makes it work for me. I love it. And then the last author that I thought I'd mention, who was new to me this year, is Claire Kent, who I believe I just discovered in October. And the first book that I read by hers was called Last Light, which is a like apocalypse, end of the world story. And it gave me Beth and Daryl Dixon vibes, and I loved it. Actually, I have a copy of that one for sure. And then I just wanted to read everything that she did. And so she has another book that kind of connects with that one. And then she has a Prison Planet series, which was cool. And then she also has a male escort romance as well, which was so beautiful. Like, oh my God. So the first one was called Escorted, I think. I can't remember what the sequel is called, but I loved it so much. That one was just beautiful because it's this woman she's an author, and she's very, very wealthy. And it's another case of like, she wants to lose her virginity, and she continues to see our hero, and they are slowly falling in love, and you know, he's not supposed to fall in love with a client, and she is like, oh my gosh, I'm falling in love with this person. And I don't know. It's so good. I love it. So, all right. Well, I didn't do too bad. We kept it about a half an hour. So there you go. Those are some authors that I discovered this year and have just kind of like taken over my favorites. So just know too, if there's an author who's on my favorites list, you know, my normal favorites list, who's not on this list, it's probably because I discovered them in a year prior. So this wasn't the first time that I read them. But thank you so much for watching this. I hope you're having happy holidays. I think this video will probably go up while I'm on vacation. Well, I mean, I know it will. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.